Hello, everybody. Hope everything's well, and as always, let's jump right into this. Now, I found this comment on a white nationalist group on BitChute, um, and I find it interesting what it says. Okay, now the video I found a comment on was talking about how black people are inferior in every way, shape, or form, biologically, sociologically, economically, and they would be right to say that because we have been attacked on all facets. Okay, but that's prophesied, and I already talked about in my previous videos on how we've been attacked. Okay, so if you want to know about that, you can go back to my previous videos. Now again, this comment I'm going to read to you I found interesting because it gets into who they are and who they know who we are. Okay, now it says here, the original beast of the field which God made was good. He said it was good. It stopped being good when it changed from an animal to a hybrid. There are still pure-blooded beasts of the field running around the jungles of Africa right now doing what a beast of the field would do. God said they are good. The fallen ones are not good. Now remember, I did a video on the fallen ones. The fallen ones talking about the Nephilim. Okay, because that's what Nephilim means fallen ones. Alright, they're the ones destroying our cities today. The original beast of the field isn't doing that. He's in Africa chasing zebras. The fallen ones are the ones raping the white girls, robbing gas stations. God never made them. Okay? You talk about Cain building a city. So what? He was the firstborn from Eve. He was far smarter than you are. Every person, i.e. copy from Adam and Eve, is degraded, which is why we keep dying sooner and sooner. We are a copy of copies 100. We are 100 generations from Adam and severely degraded. Every time something is copied, it becomes less and less of what it originally was. Cain would have been far superior to you today. Now I want to play this clip here from the Yaqub story, because what he's saying is true. After so many copies, the genes start to degrade. All right, and this is why they have this whole program pretty much around the world to keep bloodlines from mixing. Okay, and that's why in these white nationalist groups they'll say black people have low IQs and things of that nature, which I just mentioned earlier, because they're really talking about themselves. Okay, and when these copies degrade after so many generations, you see it walking around anyways. Okay, and we talked about this, that this was going on in even ancient times. But again, let me play this clip again by the Yaqub story as to why they do not want race mixing.
Yashmal, being a master genetic engineer who was all-wise, right, and exact, knew that it was not necessary to kill anyone in order to accomplish his goal because he had knowledge of the science of dominant and recessive genes. Knowing that the Ebenoid tribe was the first, then Yashmal knew the Ebenoid gene would be the most dominant, followed by the Rubetoid gene, followed by the Citrinoid gene, and lastly followed by the Albinoid gene. While inside the inner earth with his followers, Yashmal applied the science of dominant and recessive genes to design and engineer a system of arranged marriages by which the offspring born from each arranged marriage would have certain desirable qualities, and in time, over a period of 900 years, all of the derivative tribes would have been grafted back into the original Ebenoid tribe. Yashmal also observed that the gene of the Ebenoid woman was the most dominant gene, and so Yashmal established the following rules of arranged marriages amongst his followers. 10,285 Ebenoid women and 10,285 Ebenoid men would marry to keep the Ebenoid gene strong and pure. 10,285 Ebenoid women would marry 10,285 Rubetoid men. 10,285 Ebenoid women would marry 10,285 Citrinoid men. 10,285 ebenoid women would marry 10,285 albinoid men. 10,285 ebenoid men would marry 10,285 rubedoid women. 10,285 ebenoid men would marry 10,285 citrinoid women. 10,285 ebenoid men would marry 10,285 albinoid women. Yashmal would also keep 10 ebenoid women as wives for himself. The men and women were required to get married by age 19, and each couple were to have 2 children. Living in the inner earth where he was from, Yashmal was continuously regenerated and rejuvenated and did not die like his cousin Yaqub on the surface of the earth. Yashmal was able to teach, socialize, laugh, play with the children, enjoy life, and observe the generations and progression of his followers over the centuries. The offspring of the ebenoid woman and the ebenoid man would always be ebenoid. The offspring of the ebenoid woman and the rubedoid man would also be ebenoid because of the strength of the ebenoid woman's genes. The offspring of the ebenoid woman and the citrinoid man would be ebenoid 75% of the time, and rubedoid 25% of the time, because of the strength of the ebenoid woman's genes. The offspring of the ebenoid woman and the albinoid man would be ebenoid 75% of the time, and citrinoid 25% of the time, because of the strength of the ebenoid woman's genes. The offspring of the ebenoid man and the rubedoid woman would be ebenoid 75% of the time, and rubedoid 25% of the time. The offspring of the ebenoid man and the citrinoid woman would be rubedoid. The offspring of the ebenoid man and the albinoid woman would be citrinoid. With the laws of arranged marriages in place, it would take Yashmal's chosen 144,000 people 46 generations over the course of 900 years to be grafted back into the original ebenoid tribe. During this time, for some generations recessive genes would tumble forward. After 12 generations, all of the albinoids had been grafted back into the citrinoid, rubedoid, and ebenoid tribes. After another 16 generations, all of the citrinoids had been grafted back into the rubedoids and ebenoids. After another 18 generations, all of the rubedoids had been grafted back into the ebenoids, leaving only the original ebenoid tribe. It was also observed that after 4 generations, if the albinoids refused to mix in, then they would be unable to conceive offspring after the 4th generation. After 8 generations, if the citrinoids refused to mix in, then they would be unable to conceive offspring after the 8th generation. After 16 generations, if the rubedoids refused to mix in, then they would be unable to conceive offspring after the 16th generation. Just like electrons flowing from atoms with more electrons to atoms with fewer electrons, it was necessary for the derivative tribes to mix back into the original ebenoid tribe in order to get recharged and sustain and maintain their existence. However, because of the science of recessive and dominant genes, by mixing back into the original ebenoid tribe, the derivative tribes would eventually be grafted back into the original ebenoid tribe in time, leaving only the original ebenoid tribe on the surface of the planet. As it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. And so Yashmal smiled at this fact, now having knowledge that the evil acts done by his cousin Yaqub would be reversed just by letting nature take its course. The process of grafting the derivative tribes back into the original ebenoid tribe took 900 years, and once completed, Yashmal took another 100 years to teach and train his followers how to control and conquer the evil which existed within themselves.
Now to get to this bottom comment briefly, talking about the Sumerians, because we all know that it was plagiarized, like he said here. But I want y'all to know how the ancient Sumerians viewed the gods. This lecturer here, Arnie Finkel, I might be saying his name wrong, I apologize, is going to explain that right now. Check out this clip.
The Mesopotamian view of deities was modeled on their view of the human race, which, of course, has the result that the individuals are unreliable, they tell lies, they are adulterous, they get drunk, they get bored, they get easily distracted, and the gods did the same.
Now, this next clip I'm going to play is by Dr. Carla Turner, talking about the human involvement with the so-called alien abduction phenomenon. Now, we know, for people who've done their own personal research, know that there's underground bases that have been built. And there have been claims of humans working with these beings underground. I mean, that would have to be the human involvement. Now, these beings, which is just ancient alchemists, keep a lot of them in the dark. She also makes reference to that in this clip. Check it out.
So, to tell you that this is a phenomenon, the abduction scenario, that involves not only non-human entities from a place unknown as far as we can verify, it also involves very, very human agencies who monitor abduction experiences and events, who perform surveillance upon abductees, who initiate intimidation and harassment upon abductees, and at times, as you'll see in my book and in my presentation tonight, they abduct abductees and interrogate them, often with threats and often with the use of drugs and other mind control techniques, trying to elicit information from us about what is going on. And so these.
Now, this next clip I'm going to play is by the abductee Betty Hill, and she talks about the description of these so-called alien beings and how they looked human and not the so-called pulp culture look with the big eyes and the gray look. Look at this. Check it out.
The entity.
Yeah. In fact, I put up such a battle that my dress is badly torn. And he said, come on. All we want to do is some simple tests. And as soon as the tests are over, we'll take you back to your car and you'll be on your way.
Let's just go back to those type of entities. They were your classic alien, gray-shaped,
No.
cat-like. No, they weren't. Okay.
They're a form of human being.
They were a form of human being.
Right.
Did they have cat-like or Cheshire-like eyes?
They had larger eyes than ours, smaller nose, and smaller mouth. No protruding part of the ear and no hair.
So
But they're people.
nothing like these classic grays you see your Whitley Strieber's.
I don't
Okay.
know. I've never seen those. I don't know what they're talking about.
Sure, okay.
Remember the comment saying that the fallen ones was not created by God? Well, this apocrypha is speaking about that very same thing. God had to use primordial beings from the very low blackness, which Bobby Hemmett talks about, the triple blackness, to create light and darkness. Because it was things before creation. All right, we already talked about the war and everything. You can go back to my previous video, the ancient ones. But this body that you have is an encasing to trap the soul, to keep you in this, what you would call simulation or matrix, to feed off of you. It's to keep a consciousness trapped, to keep a certain amount of souls trapped. Okay? But thank you for listening, and peace and balance to the ancient ones.